Have you ever wondered how a simple, seemingly harmless device might be shaping the way we think, feel, and even remember things? That's right. The smartphone, which seems like an indispensable companion, might also be stealing a part of our ability to focus, pay attention, and even create lasting memories. What many ignore is that this little device goes beyond just connecting us to the world. It directly affects our brains, altering our mental chemistry in ways we'd never imagine. And it does all this without us even noticing. The irony is that while it promises to make life easier, it can end up making it more stressful, even creating symptoms of dependence. Now, imagine if there were a way to escape this digital trap without giving up all the benefits that a smartphone offers. Sounds impossible? Don't worry. There are practical and simple ways to reverse these effects without taking drastic measures. The key is to understand what it does to our minds and how small changes in our daily lives can restore mental clarity and balance. After all, who would have thought that our loyal companion, aside from entertaining us, could also make us prisoners to notifications, messages, and social media? So, how about uncovering the mysteries behind this device and discovering how to give your brain the rest it deserves? Stay with me and learn how to transform your relationship with your smartphone to live with more focus, memory, and peace. Want to know more? Let's dive in. It's interesting to think about how smartphones have become almost inseparable from us. Isn't it? That little notification lighting up the screen, a ping that grabs our attention. All of it seems harmless. But the truth is that these devices are designed to activate our brain's reward circuits. Imagine this. Each like on a photo, every new message triggers a dopamine rush. And dopamine, being what it is, makes us crave more. As if the device is always whispering, just one more minute. Deep down, it's a subtle, addictive cycle that ensnares us, almost invisibly yet powerfully. If we delve a little deeper, the mechanics become even clearer. App developers know this process like the back of their hand. They design apps to give us constant rewards, small bursts of dopamine that create a fleeting sense of well-being. Each time we unlock the screen, there's anticipation, a possibility of gratification, be it a new notification or an unread message. It works almost like a slot machine, and most of us don't even realize how hooked we've become on this game. Who would think that the routine act of checking our phone could have such an impact on our brain? What few people realize is the profound effect this has on our mood and how we process things around us. When the brain gets used to frequent stimuli, the prolonged effect is a natural decrease in the ability to enjoy moments without these little highs. People who take breaks from this routine by scheduling downtime or even meditating report a significant improvement in mental energy. And if it were only about emotional well-being, it would already be something to worry about. But this dopamine loop can even lead to more serious mental health issues, which makes one wonder about its lasting impact. But this is only the beginning. It's surprising to see how deep this connection goes. The constant presence of a smartphone seems harmless, but there's an odd effect in play. Even when it's off, it can divide our attention. It's as if, just by being there, the phone subtly whispers, reminding us that it could offer a distraction at any moment. And as unusual as it may seem, this affects the brain's ability to focus and solve problems. It's like trying to study with a constant background noise. Focus gets compromised, and tasks that were once simple start to require more effort. Without realizing it, productivity quietly declines, getting subtly drained. To understand this better, think about how often we look at our phones, even without a real need. Some studies suggest that simply having a smartphone visible in the environment consumes part of our mental energy. As a result, it becomes harder to retain information, plan, or even handle more complex situations. It's no wonder people who work with high mental demands are adopting the habit of leaving their devices in another room or even using extended rest modes. This small distance helps the brain regain autonomy, without that constant reminder that something could pop up on the screen at any moment. And there's something even more intriguing. The impact on problem solving doesn't just happen to adults. Young people whose brains are still developing also face these consequences. They grow up with divided attention, which, in the long term, can lead to academic or even social interaction difficulties. For those who want to improve this skill, a practical tip is to engage in activities that require full focus, like deep reading or even logic games, without a phone nearby. These small actions can, in subtle ways, help to reverse some of the effects that simply having a smartphone around brings. When we think about memories, we recall special moments, scenes, and details we want to hold on to. But what few people know is that excessive smartphone use can directly interfere with this ability to remember. For the brain, storing memories is a delicate process, and with cell phones, there's an impact on the hippocampus, a vital area for recording our experiences. This area is like a hard drive for memories, and when constantly interrupted by digital stimuli, it loses efficiency, making us increasingly dependent on our phones to recall information that used to come naturally. One practical example is the constant use of social media as a sort of public diary. Instead of mentally recording a special moment, many people choose to post it, letting the phone store the event. Over time, the brain adapts to this outsourcing of memory and ends up retaining fewer details, relying more and more on the phone for recalling memories. Additionally, studies show that this practice raises the risk of mental health issues, especially among young people who are still developing their memory structures and identity. The interesting thing is that there are ways to regain control over this process. Activities like reading and memory exercises can help reverse some of these effects. Simple techniques like memorizing a task list or even training the brain to recall details from conversations and events act as a kind of mental workout. These practices strengthen the hippocampus and, as a bonus, improve our well-being. After all, there's nothing like having our own memories at hand without needing a device for that. Smartphone addiction goes beyond a mere preference for a device. It's an almost visceral connection. Many feel a wave of anxiety when they're away from their phones, a symptom of nomophobia, the irrational fear of being without the device. This attachment might seem exaggerated, but it reflects how our minds have adapted to having smartphones always within reach. Some people even report restlessness, emptiness, and even physical symptoms upon realizing they left their phone at home. The interesting thing is that, like other addictions, this relationship with the phone takes the place of activities that could promote real, lasting well-being. When we analyze the impact of this dependence, we see that it becomes a vicious cycle. The person uses the phone to relieve discomfort and anxiety, but paradoxically, this use reinforces the attachment. It's a bit like trying to escape quicksand. The more you move, the more you sink. In waiting situations like lines or gaps between appointments, instead of allowing a mental pause, the phone is immediately accessed to fill the time. And thus, the mind becomes less accustomed to moments of introspection or silence, growing dependent on constant stimulation. For those who wish to reduce this dependency, small changes can make a huge difference. One of these is practicing digital detox periods, moments without the phone, like during meals or before bed. Another good habit is exploring alternative activities for moments when the phone would be the first choice. Reading a book, chatting with someone nearby, or even meditating. These small breaks help the mind rediscover the value of free time and deal better with the anxiety that, often, the device itself fuels. The promise of multitasking seems irresistible. Doing multiple tasks at once sounds efficient, especially in a fast-paced world. But what few people realize is that when we use smartphones while trying to focus on another activity, the brain doesn't actually do multiple things at once. It quickly alternates between tasks, which tires it out and reduces the quality of each activity. And as we keep up this practice, the impact shows up in our ability to retain information and long-term skills like memory and comprehension. When we use the phone during a meeting or even while reading a book, our brains start to work at a more superficial level, almost on autopilot. In this situation, information is not absorbed deeply and soon fades, making it harder to recall later. It's a bit like trying to read with background noise. Even if something is picked up, the comprehension remains fragmented. Those who want to regain control of their attention might start by reserving time blocks for specific activities and reducing the temptation to take a quick look at the phone with each notification. The interesting part is that small adjustments can transform our focus ability. Trying monotasking, that is, focusing on a single task at a time, helps the brain deepen processing and strengthens memory storage. To improve focus even more, some people adopt practices like meditation, which enhances the ability to concentrate on a single point and quiet distractions. By slowing down and reclaiming a more focused attention, we become more productive and present, ready to absorb what truly matters. Reading on a screen may seem normal nowadays, but studies show that it has an invisible cost: comprehension. When we read on smartphones, we're exposed to a continuous flow of notifications and distractions, which affects the brain's ability to process and retain information. Digital reading is often more fragmented, and the brain has to constantly go back and reread to capture meaning. This creates a sort of escape from concentration, where each interruption, however small, causes a slight mental drain. For many, the difference between reading a physical text and a digital one is subtle but with profound impact. When we pick up a book, the absence of distractions allows the brain to dive into the reading, creating stronger connections with the content. On the other hand, reading on a smartphone involves switching thoughts and stimuli like a cognitive zigzag. People who need to retain information, such as students or professionals, can benefit immensely from choosing physical books or, at least, turning off notifications while reading digitally. But not all is lost for those who need or prefer reading on digital devices. Techniques like scheduling specific times of the day for uninterrupted reading or creating a distraction-free reading environment can help improve comprehension. Highlighting passages, even virtually, or making notes aids the brain in fixing what's read, making the experience deeper. After all, reading without distractions is a gift to the mind, an opportunity to connect with knowledge in a fuller way. Social media seems like a great place to connect, but it also has a less visible effect: stress. With each notification, like, or comment, the brain reacts as if it's on alert, releasing stress hormones. These constant interactions can make us feel like we're always under observation, as if every post were a judgment. And that's where it gets tricky. The more we seek approval on social networks, the greater the emotional impact, creating a cycle where stress becomes part of the digital experience. Oddly enough, the act of checking social media right upon waking, a common practice for many, already triggers a surge of adrenaline in the body. This stressful start influences the entire day, affecting everything from mood to how we handle challenges. To reduce these effects, some people opt to check social media only at scheduled times, limiting the emotional impact. Others prefer to replace the morning habit with healthier practices like light reading, a walk, or even a moment of meditation. These alternatives offer a calmer start, preparing the mind to handle the day better. The good news is that setting boundaries for social media use can bring better balance to this relationship. Disabling notifications, muting certain accounts, or even reducing usage time are simple steps that help regain control. And with a bit of practice, the mind learns to respond less intensely to social media stimuli, easing the emotional load. And, of course, all of this opens up space for other activities that promote well-being, a thought that encourages a slower, more peaceful way of living. With so many smartphone impacts, it's important to think about ways to counterbalance this influence. And the good news is that there are practical ways to help the brain recover from this digital overload. Regular physical exercise, for example, is a valuable ally, helping to improve mental health and reduce stress levels. A simple walk outdoors already activates circulation, improves mood, and allows the mind to disconnect a bit from constant stimuli. Activities like yoga or sports are even more beneficial as they require focus and presence, distancing the temptation to check the phone. Beyond physical activity, limiting social media use and setting specific times to check the smartphone are steps that make a big difference. Instead of keeping the phone always at hand, you can create small rules, like turning it off during meals or before bed. This not only improves sleep quality but also helps us be more present in our interactions and daily moments. Those who have already tried this practice report a significant increase in concentration and even an improvement in productivity. Another interesting tip is to prioritize reading physical books, avoiding the use of devices for leisure and learning moments. This practice strengthens focus and enhances comprehension and retention. And for those who feel the need to organize their memories better and avoid using their phone as an extension of their memory, jotting down thoughts or keeping a physical journal is an effective strategy. These practices, although simple, restore mental autonomy and provide a sense of balance, making room to experience each moment more deeply and mindfully. Now that you know the impact smartphones have on the mind and how they interfere with memory, attention, and even well-being, How about reflecting on how to use them more mindfully? What could change in your life if you started setting boundaries and allowed yourself moments of disconnection? Think about the possibilities. A calmer mind, renewed focus, and even a deeper connection to the present. Are you ready to try some of these strategies to see the results? So, how about starting today? It could be a walk outdoors without the phone, a physical book before bed, or a moment reserved to enjoy meals without digital interruptions. These small steps, when practiced consistently, can transform your relationship with technology and, more importantly, with yourself. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to keep learning more about how to take care of your mind in the digital world. Let's go on this journey for more focus and balance together.